Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Sylvester Stallone is releasing a special director's cut of Rocky IV in movie theaters tomorrow for one day only. I spoke with Rocky's nemesis, Dolph Lundgren, in 2015 during the release of Creed.
Oh, hey. Nice talking to you.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. Now, there's a ton of stuff we can talk about, obviously, but I definitely want to start with War Pigs. It's coming out on Blu-ray, DVD. Tell me a little bit about working with Chuck Liddell and Mickey Rourke and such a, big-name cast like that.
Well, first of all, War Pigs is a World War II picture, and I love World War II. I'm a big fan, big buff of World War II, so that was great. Mickey Rourke, I know him. Well, I used to know him back in the 80s. Then I worked with him on Expendables, so that was fun. Chuck Liddell, of course, is a great fighter. So I look up to him for all he's accomplished. So it was great to work with those two guys.
You guys are this unit known as the War Pigs that are going behind enemy lines with the Nazis, right? Give us a little rundown of who your character is and what the plot is.
Yeah, okay. I play this French Foreign Legion officer who is assigned to this small American unit of GIs. They're going to go behind enemy lines and look for this cannon, this kind of super weapon that Hitler's creating. He's going to try to fire at the invasion beaches at Paris, and we have to find it and destroy it. And I'm the guy who's responsible for training these kids how to fight the Nazis.
Awesome, yeah. Well, if you know your dad or your brother or whatever likes war action movies, maybe a nice stocking stuffer. So there you go.
I agree. Yeah, it's a fun movie. World War II is always great, and I think what's cool about this picture is it shows you how in those days, you didn't have satellite imagery and all this, and these kids, sometimes people are just thrown together and trained for a couple of weeks, and they had to do some really incredible stuff. They pulled it off, a lot of them. I think that's what's incredible about World War II. It was a different times,
Definitely. What do you think got you so into World War II? I mean, I know that you were born in Sweden, but do you think was it something you've always been fascinated by growing up?
I think what it was my dad was an officer. He was an Army officer, and he used to lay there in bed and read about different battles, and I think he wrote articles about it as well. He was kind of an expert, and I think as a kid, also, it was I grew up in the '60s, so World War II wasn't that far away. I mean,
right.
Now you look back at it, but in those days, it was 20 years ago, say 1965, 1945. Actually, that would be like going back to 1995 right now, which didn't seem that long ago. So obviously, it was kind of in the air more in Europe. I'm sure here as well. Then I just kept it up, and I've just always been fascinated by it and what it was like and what a huge conflict it was and how it changed the world we live in.
Did you have a certain part of World War II that you enjoyed? Was there a certain battle or a certain front? Were you more of a European front guy? Obviously, you said it was in the air more, but I'm sure it was even on the ground. I'm sure there was still rubble in a lot of places, too.
Yeah, I think there was, but I think, I'm fascinated by all of it. I mean, my specialties that I really like, favorites would be, I like the nuclear, the development of the atom bomb.
Yeah.
I like that, and the Pacific and how it kind of influenced that conflict. I really like the European conflict, of course, and especially the Normandy invasion, and Stalingrad and the Eastern Front is really interesting because the scale of the battles on the Eastern Front is quite interesting as well. Then there's another interesting thing also, fascinating how the Norwegian, saboteurs who went in there by parachute and blew up Hitler's heavy water plant in Norway, which could have gotten him the atom bomb, before the Allies, or at least there was a certain chance of that. It was incredible that those things happen in real life.
It's fascinating that you're so into the idea of the atom bomb, and because a lot of that sets up the nuclear buildup of the Cold War. Which, did you have any idea that a role that you were in, like Rocky IV, would deal with sort of become one of the iconic Cold War movies in a bizarre way? A boxing movie became one of the most important movies in trying to break down that Cold War.
Yeah, well, of course, being a kid and being in it, I didn't really understand that I did understand a little more when it came out, because obviously this Cold War was still going on, and people were asking me questions about politics. And you remember I went to Berlin, for instance, for the release in Germany, and they took pictures of me jogging by the Berlin Wall, and and you could see these young East German guards up in the towers kind of looking down at me going, who's that guy, and the whole thing was kind of bizarre, because here I was playing a Soviet fighter, but on the western side, and obviously, if you tried to cross in those days, you were shot dead. That was it. And so it was and you could see over. I remember you were in some observation spot, and you could see Goering's old air ministry from the Second World War.
Wow!
Because the Russians hadn't torn it down; it was there, and it had holes in it from the grenades and bullets that hit it. When they're doing the fighting, and that was kind of eerie.
Yeah, definitely. I would think so. Have you? Have you seen the new Rocky movie yet, Creed?
Yeah, I went to the premiere actually a couple of weeks ago, and it was really good. Yeah, they did a great job. The director is this young guy, young African American guy, did a great job, and the lead actor is good. Stallone is very good in it. He plays an old Rocky, and he really kind of plays his age, he's actually fitter than the guy he plays in the movie. But anyway, it was a pleasure seeing it, and I was especially happy because they never showed how the father, Apollo Creed, was killed.
Right.
Because I was a bit nervous about that, how he died. I'm the one who did it.
It was at the hands of your character, Ivan Drago, yeah.
The heavy hands of Ivan Drago, yes.
Could you give us a I Must Break You really quick?
Yes, I must break it. And I was going to do if he dies, to my neighbor when I was sitting there, in the seat. But I thought, no, I should do that.
Is it, yeah, that's hilarious. No, I saw it too, and I enjoyed it a lot. It called back to the old stuff, a good bit, but at the same time, it really sort of charted its own path, similar to the character Adonis in the movie. The movie itself wanted to, not over rely on the past. It kind of charted its own path. I liked it.
Yeah, I agree.
You got to take a little credit. Without Ivan Drago, there wouldn't be Creed. I mean, you started this whole. The character wouldn't exist as a fatherless figure. That whole storyline would not be there if not for your character. So, how does it feel?
Yeah, Paulo would be around. He'd be like a drunk or something. Who knows? And Ivan Drago would be in Siberia and slaving away in the mines for losing the fight. I don't know, something like that.
Well, if Ivan Drago, what would he say to Adonis Creed if he actually got to talk to him? And after, what would he say to him?
I must break you. Sorry, kid. You're very weak for a young kid. No, he would. Now it's your turn.
Would Ivan Drago come out of retirement to face Adonis Creed? I mean, because Adonis might need to.
He would. He'd come out of try him in alcoholism in Russia.
If that, I mean, obviously that's all speculation, but if that ever did come about, and, if they made Creed sequels, is that something you'd be interested in? I mean, in a way, it would be the ultimate Adonis. It would be a good storyline. He's got to avenge his father's death.
Yeah, he looks up this old drunk in Russia and shoots him in the back of the head, caps him with a 9. No, I think I think that I like to see, Ivan Drago. I think he should rest in peace back in the 80s. That's where he belongs, and that's why I think that if he's never seen again, I think it makes him more powerful when you do see him on film.
You'd be fine with that if he just fades up. Awesome. Well, we know you're busy and you got to make the rounds, so we'll let you run. But we really appreciate you taking the time, and especially telling Adonis if he dies, he dies. That was hilarious.
Okay, man. Well, nice talking to you, and hopefully we'll talk soon.
Wouldn't you know it, 3 years later, Lundgren did decide to return as Ivan Drago in Creed 2. I spoke with Florian Big Nasty Munteanu, who played Drago's son, as well as Creed 2 director Steven Caple Jr.
Steven Caple Jr., director of Creed.
And?
Florian Big Nasty Munteanu, you know what it is.
Yes, I was telling you guys before we were chatting a little before we started rolling, but I really enjoyed it, and I mean, man, We interviewed when Creed came out. We interviewed Dolph Lundgren over the phone, and I remember I was the seeds for this were already, all of us were already thinking that, and I was like, what would you tell Adonis? He'd say, I must break you. But so I just loved when it actually came about. How did you? Before we get to any of that stuff, when did you first encounter Rocky, and did you have a favorite of all of that series growing up?
Yeah, I encountered Rocky when I was a kid, most like many others probably. But when I was born, though, Rocky V was about to come out. I think that was the latest. But the first
Tommy Gunn.
It was Tommy Gunn. Tommy Gunn, and so I saw Rocky V probably first, then Rocky IV, and then I didn't see Rocky 1 until I was a bit older, probably 8 years old, and that was my favorite one.
Yeah. It's the best one, I think.
It is, but even as a kid, so I watched it as a kid. So as a kid, you're like, oh, this is motivating. Like, I'm amped up for this one. And then as an adult, you watch it and you're like, oh, this is very artistic. It's different. Yeah. He was doing something during his time. Sly's a genius. Like, all that stuff starts to go through your head. So I'm always a fan of the franchise growing up. And so when Creed came about, it's nothing but excitement, man, just to see a spinoff. But on top of that, a character that you like, Apollo Creed has a son, Mike B's, of course, Mike B. So you love Mike B on screen. So yeah, it's just a great duel, great package.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I feel like when you're young, it's Rocky IV, it's the montages, it's the him versus the Russian. But then when you get a little bit older and you're like, damn, like, yeah, this won Best Picture. Like, this is there's a lot going on in this movie. It's a great love story too. But anyway, but with this one, how do you decide as a director, what you're gonna leave in terms of callback to certain things? We hear some of the music in the final fight. We get the "I must break you" kind of in the subtitles and in the translations. And what do you decide? Like, let's not go there. Let's not have Hearts on Fire come in. Let's not have Living in America. Like, how do you kind of have a couple, but still make it?
No, that was a difficult challenge. That was, how do you fulfill people's expectations? And so when you kind of rewind it and then you go back to you yourself or myself as a director, what would I want to see on screen? What would be too much? What I liked about the old Rockies? What I didn't probably like about the old Rockies? And then when you go from that kind of foundation, you then start to plant the seeds of like, all right, here goes some callbacks I would definitely love to hear from the Drago son. Or honestly, after I picked up the project, people would see me in the street, or I remember my neighbor finding out I was directing the film, knocked on my door and was like, he's like, Drago better do this or that or down this, and I was like, wow, people have the expectations. I listened as well, to see what fans wanted. I think Sly did too when he wrote the draft. He knew what fans wanted, and so we try to give them as much as possible while still staying grounded, while still pulling the heartstrings and everything like that. And like you just said it just now, the love story aspect, the family aspect, those are important. That's what make a Rocky film and Creed film work. Once you got that, then you sprinkle in like we're gonna have Jaden Smith Icon come out with the light show, or Drago's come out with the fireworks, and you just sprinkle it just enough, but without losing the soul, if that makes any sense.
Exactly. And for your character, sir, I mean, what I loved about it wasn't like so many other movies. It's just like a cookie cutter villain, and they they have the big fight. Exactly. What I loved about it is you and Dolph's character Ivan Drago. You get your own father-son thing. There's a lot of complexity, so that you almost get almost like the first Rocky. You get like the moral victory. You went the distance and overcame something, even though you lost. Like we're almost rooting for you to get up at the end too. Even we still want Jordan to win, but you know what I mean. Like we're still rooting. And that to just talk about how it was important that even the quote-unquote villain of the movie, the antagonist, had an actual story we could dive into.
Well, it's definitely important. I think, this is a new generation, so you don't have this typical villain anymore. Like, Ivan was simply the killing machine that he is, and no emotions. So it changed a lot, and you can see that also in Black Panther, right? Where in the end, you can feel for the villain, understand why he's doing certain things.
Ironically, the same actor.
Yeah.
Jordan.
Okay.
Yeah, right? Yeah. No, Killmonger, yeah.
Yeah,
Killmonger
exactly.
Yeah, but yeah.
And we wanted to create that scenario, and Steven told me right away when we started working that, he wanted to create a scenario where in the end of the day you don't know who to cheer for. And I think we delivered that.
I agree. What was it like just working with Dolph? I mean, playing as your father. And I just love also that you wove in your character's mother leaving. Just talk about working with Dolph and mining that father-son thing.
Well, Dolph is great, you know. He's one of the most humble and most grounded people that I got to know. And he initiated it, like he really wanted to create a father-son bond. We had a lot of, you know, Russian classes together. He initiated of working out together, having dinner together, really create this bond so that we are authentic on screen. And he made it very easy for me to work, you know, because I'm the new guy. And I didn't really know what to expect. And the whole cast, not only Dolph, but the whole cast together with Steven and the other great actors, they made it so easy for me to fit into this whole project, and it was simply great.
Now, what in terms of, well, both you and Michael B. Jordan, in terms of training wise for the fights, how much actual training did they actually?
I think for us, and I'm not sure he'll talk about the actual experience, but just me witnessing it and pushing them, obviously, I mean, there were definitely times where they got mad at me. We're all family, though.
Like a desert, like in a movie?
No. For every hit they received in the movie, I said I'll take one. So even if it's by accident, he got hit more actually than Mike. But ultimately, we had a short window, and so these guys had to train like 3 times out of the day. They would do choreography. They would actually train and work out and do more choreography, and then this guy would then, do the Russian coach, everything in one day before we actually filmed. And then while we were filming, we just kept learning choreography. You've seen the movie, there's a lot of fighting in it. You know what I mean? They fight, multiple times. And so when doing so, they have to learn all those punches, each one, to make sure they don't kill the other guy or knock out the other guy, but yet still swing as if you're about to swing and hit a real person. So it took an enormous amount of control. And for me, I didn't gather how much of a toll it was on these guys, and watch them during choreography because they walk through it very slow. But when you're in the ring and they're at it, I get caught up in like, oh, the adrenaline. Let's go do another take, and I'm like, wait, damn, these dudes are tired.
Taxing.
It's taxing on their body, and yet they're actually doing a full round and throwing these punches and acting on top of that. And here I am, like, crazy, take 3, let's do it again. Not thinking like, oh man, like these dudes exhausted, I have to move on or get another angle. But yeah, sorry for your experience. I know it was tough, and there's moments where you got injured. And
yeah, definitely. I mean, like you said before, we were really swinging hard, right, with full extension. Like you could really tell, and I think you have seen that.
Did you actually catch him a couple times? He catch
you
for
sure. Yeah. Sure, absolutely.
Can you not?
He would look at me some. Make a face. Mike would be like, "What's up?"
It's
for the art, man.
But I was trying, and that was also his instructions, that every swing that I punch should be with high intensity, right? So there's not really a slowdown or something. Every punch should count. That was the instruction from Steven, and that's why we try to keep the intensity always like 100%. By saying that, having an intensity that's always on the top level, it's really freaking exhausting.
It needs a brawler too, so like the different fight styles played in this movie as well. You know what I mean? So Mike is very all technique, speed, as we said in the first fight, and then he's a brawler, so it's like it's nonstop haymakers, big punches. Like he's trying to end this dude, and so that technique is again taxing, and then Mike's using his speed trying to move. That is taxing. So it's like the different styles in which they had to keep that mindset for the different fights they had, and Mike switching it up throughout, on the second time around, like he's like switched up his style. He has to become a little brawler. So it took them, things to learn, obviously, but we got there, man, and we finished. Finally.
Awesome. Well, I know they're giving me the go home, so just in closing, the ding ding, right? Cut me, Mick. So in closing, I'm just big picture it for me, just the legacy and what Stallone has created here. The fact that it's we had the first, I guess 6 was kind of its own thing, and now Creed's like entering another era. I feel like, I would assume Michael will come back for at least I can see a trilogy, maybe even more. But I think now we got a daughter. I think there's a whole like third wave coming, like $1 Million Baby style. I thought she was gonna be named Adrian. What is it, Amora? Yeah. I was rooting for Adrian, but anyway.
With an A though. We gave you the A. We gave you the A.
But
very
just
subtle.
in general, do you think that could happen with and B just big picture too on the macro level, like the fact that Stallone created this in his mind and wrote it like by hand in one weekend in 1976, and now he's still at it and still on screen.
And he still continues that same passion. So I think it has to come from that first. I think if Mike still has the passion and Tessa still have the passion, which I think they will, and there's a genuine, honest story to tell for Creed 3 and Creed 4, whatever it can go to. Amara 1, Drago 2. But no, I feel like... And this was that film that we wanted to like say, hey, this is Creed, this is Rocky, this is the Drago. So it felt more like an ensemble piece because everyone had a full arc, and you can go places with those. So we leave it up to the filmmakers, the passion behind the MGM to see where they want to go with it. But
and Stallone's just as passionate in it
as he was all
this is his baby. This is his career role.
He found this guy. And when I met him, obviously it's intimidating. You're like, I'm about to meet Sly, Rambo. It's about to be crazy. He's going to be mean. He's going to look me in the eye, and I'm going to be looking down. Like, how's it going to be? And he was like, dude, we're making Creed. He was super excited. He was like, I have something to show you. Like, it was a gift. And he opened the door to his office, walked in, popped on his computer. It's funny watching Sly on a computer. It shows me a YouTube clip, and he's typing in his name.
Hey, Florian, look at this.
Florian Big, no, exactly. Florian Big Nasty. And then I was like, what? And then it pops up, and this dude is like training real hard and working out, and that's how he spotted this guy. And so all kudos to Sly because he kept that passion alive. He did not just hire anybody. It was like the internet was booming with possible prospects of who can play Drago. And he was avoiding all that and focusing on the right guy. So he found him. He introduced me to him. We flew him out, and then his chemistry matched with Mike's. He got the job. Awesome. He did his thing.
No, man.
Yeah, but Sly keeps it all the way, man. He's a real artist, to be honest.
When he finally takes that final bow, I mean, people are going to look back and just look at what Rocky, and just this franchise alone, man. Yeah. God, it's pretty incredible. So thank you for doing it justice. I appreciate it.
No, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks so much for joining us on Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Remember to hit the subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time. I wanted to take a second to tell you about an app I really enjoy. Living in the DC area is great, and Podcast DC gathers all of the local shows that I like all in one local app. Health, sports, local news, politics, and so much more. Podcast DC is the new local app with hundreds of DC area podcasts to choose from. I can earn exciting rewards just for listening and share the podcasts I love instantly. Available in the App Store or in Google Play, listen local with Podcast DC.